Welcome back, race fans. It's time to dive into the latest drama in the world of Formula One. Just when we thought the Red Bull curse was a thing of the past, it seems to be creeping back in. Sergio Perez, Red Bull's second driver, is now under the spotlight, and there's a lot of pressure and expectation on his shoulders. After all, he's driving one of the most dominant F1 cars of all time and partnered with one of the best drivers in modern Formula One, Max Verstappen. After a promising start to the season, Perez's performance has taken a nosedive, leaving him far from the championship hopes that he initially presented to the F1 world. Despite driving the fastest car on the grid, his last 3 races have been underwhelming, to say the least. This is particularly shocking, considering his impressive performances in events like Jeddah and Baku, where he held off his teammate Max Verstappen. Many anticipated an exciting intra-team battle between Perez and Verstappen, reminiscent of the rivalry between Rosberg and Hamilton in 2016. However, it seems like this season will follow a similar pattern to 2022, with Perez showing early promise and then fading away. The Monaco Grand Prix, one of Perez's favorite races, was a disaster and expectations were high for him to bounce back. Unfortunately, he disappointed once again. Perez's recent struggles in qualifying have been a major concern. Failing to enter Q3 for 3 consecutive races is not the performance Red Bull expects from their second driver, especially considering the dominance of their car. The pressure is mounting, not just in terms of the Drivers' Championship, but also the Constructors' Championship. Red Bull may be forced to consider replacing Perez sooner rather than later. Is Perez the most overrated driver on the grid? Some are starting to question his true potential. While it's challenging for any driver to compete with the generational talent of Verstappen, Perez's experience and the dominance of the Red Bull car should put him in a solid P2 position in every race. However, his recent struggles in qualifying have cast doubts on his ability to deliver consistent results. After the Canadian Grand Prix, Perez admitted that something was wrong and that he needed to change immediately. The disappointment was evident, both in his own performance and in his team's championship aspirations. Perez's deficit to Verstappen is substantial, and he now faces a real threat from Fernando Alonso, who is closing in on his second-place position in the Drivers' Championship. Helmut Marko, Red Bull's special advisor, made strong comments about Perez needing to wake up and focus on being there for the team. The pressure has been somewhat lifted from Perez with Verstappen's dominance, allowing him to concentrate on improving as the number 2 driver. However, Perez's recent race in Montreal only further highlighted his struggles, as he couldn't even challenge the Ferrari drivers, let alone Verstappen. Perez's poor performance not only threatens Red Bull's lead in the Constructors' Championship, but also raises questions about his future with the team. With promising drivers like Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, and the young Zhou, the competition for a Red Bull seat is intensifying. Perez needs to step up his game if he wants to continue his F1 career with Red Bull. However, Perez has had a rough time in qualifying recently, missing out on Q3 on 4 occasions, including the last 3 races. This isn't ideal, especially considering the car he's driving and the stellar performances we've seen from Verstappen. Some of us wondered if there could be a teammate battle for the championship between Perez and Verstappen, but that dream quickly faded as Verstappen started to run away with the title. Now it's not necessarily about Perez winning or fighting for the championship. The focus has shifted to his consistency and taking responsibility for mistakes or incidents. While not everything is entirely his fault, there's a concerning trend developing that is starting to raise questions about Perez's future. It's a strange conversation because it feels like just yesterday we were praising him as the ideal number 2 driver. And in many ways, he still is, as he isn't posing a real threat to Max, which is good news for Red Bull. Having 2 teammates battling it out on track every week can be quite challenging. On the other hand, Red Bull would like their second driver, the number 2 driver, to consistently make it into Q3. Missing out on Q3 repeatedly isn't good enough, especially considering the incredible dominance of this year's Red Bull car. If Perez's performance continues to decline, and if Red Bull decides to replace him, who are the potential drivers that could take his seat? Let's explore 3 options that could be future possibilities for Red Bull. The first option is Lando Norris, an immensely talented driver who has consistently performed at an extremely high level for McLaren. Norris has shown his caliber and deserves a top seat at a front-running team. While he has a contract with McLaren, we know that contracts in F1 don't always hold strong if a team is determined to acquire a driver. Imagine a swap between Norris and Perez, quite an intriguing prospect. However, Red Bull may hesitate to pair a young, feisty driver like Norris with Max, as it could potentially create internal tensions. The second option is Yuki Tsunoda. Many people have been saying that he's ready for a Red Bull seat if given the opportunity. Tsunoda has shown significant improvement this year, stepping up his game and proving himself as a solid and consistent driver. He's silenced the doubts about his ability to adapt to Formula One, and his performances have caught the attention of many. The third driver mentioned is Liam Lawson. However, it's unlikely for Red Bull to consider him at this stage. Lawson hasn't even driven full-time in Formula One yet, so it's crucial for him to gain experience and learn the ropes with AlphaTauri. Throwing him straight into Red Bull would be risky and potentially detrimental to his development, despite his immense potential. Currently, Perez is only 9 points ahead of Fernando Alonso, and we all know what Alonso is capable of. If Aston Martin maintains their strong performance, Perez's position could be at risk. He blames his qualifying strategy in Canada for his poor performance, citing that he was on the wrong tires for the conditions. While there may be valid reasons for his struggles, fans enjoy discussing possible replacements and drivers who fit the Red Bull profile. In the end, it's uncertain whether Perez's situation is truly worrisome or just a temporary setback. He still has the potential to bounce back and find his form, as he has already won races this year. However, if his struggles continue, things will get very interesting during the silly season, where driver swaps and team changes become the center of attention. What are your thoughts on the Sergio Perez situation? Do you think he'll find his form, or is this a worrying trend that will continue? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as we're approaching 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us. As always, thank you for your unwavering support, and we'll catch you in the next one. Stay tuned for more thrilling updates from the world of Formula One.